From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast, Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. Good morning for everyone tuning in live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, now X, Twitch, LinkedIn, Rumble, everywhere else y'all are tuning in. Thank you all so much for tuning in this morning. We've got a really busy show. But before we do that, please make sure to subscribe, follow, share, comment, like. Let us know what you want to hear more of. We're definitely exploring a whole lot more to the show. We've got a lot to talk about today, including China's APT40, the CDK economic impact. Stuff we talked about a few weeks ago is really starting to bear its fruits now as the second quarter has wrapped, third quarter results start to roll. We're likely to see that real economic impact of CDK come to fruition, and so much more on this morning's show. But before we do that, let's start off this show like we do every show with a double espresso. I've got my double espresso this morning. Coffee cup, cheers, y'all. Check out our Substack. That's what you're seeing on the screen. And if you're watching, jamesazar.substack.com. Let's go ahead and kick off with essentially the modern global world, the modern Western world, the US, UK, Canada, Germany, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea, with Australia, are blaming Chinese state-sponsored threat actors for hacking into government networks. Following the March 2024 sanctions against members of the Chinese APT actor APT31, the 8 nations are now drawing attention to Kryptonite Panda, also known as APT40. That's got a whole bunch of names, but y'all, if this is your first time tuning in, I have a whole issue with names. I think more than one name's just too confusing. APT40 itself has targeted Australian networks as well as government and private sector networks in the region, and the threat they pose to our network is ongoing, according to an advisory regularly conducting reconnaissance operations against networks in the authoring agency's countries. The hacking group identifies old vulnerable devices to exploit. They're taking advantage of several CVEs, one existing within the Adelaide Confluence CVE 2021-26084, Log4j CVE 2021-44228, and Microsoft Exchange, 3 different CVEs, all 2021-31207, 34523, and 34473. The Chinese state-sponsored threat actor is expected to continue using POCs for new high-profile vulnerabilities within hours or days of public release. And we know this to be true, by the way. We know that within 24 hours, within 4 hours, there's of an exploit or a vulnerability being released. There's active scanning that we know that within 24 to 48 hours, we already see attempted POCs and attempted exploits of said vulnerability. And so the Chinese are excellent at it. And by the way, they've legislated that way as well internally, right? So if you're a Chinese researcher and you find a vulnerability in a American or European product or Australian product, you're required to report it to China first before you report it to the manufacturer. In fact, it's a crime if you don't do that. So what's the expectation here? As practitioners, we have to understand that our vulnerability management program carries probably the most significant weight that can help limit significant cybersecurity incidents within our organization. And the way we need to translate this is twofold. One, we've got to internally evangelize the idea of we've got to patch fast, quick, especially critical ones, as soon as humanly possible. Number one. Number two, from a supply chain perspective, we've got to look at putting in legal language in contracts that says if you're unable to patch something within X amount of hours, you ought to provide us with a mitigation notice, something along those lines, so that you can weigh your own internal mitigation to that. Later today, I drop an article in Substack about the difficulty of managing data for security practitioners and kind of some tips there. And the work process, it's just the first. There'll be a full kind of checklist of how do you manage data that I'll be dropping on our Substack probably next week. So go check that out again, jamesazar.substack.com. So Nothing new, but by everyone pointing the finger at China. The fact is, though, that they all point the finger at China. They all say it's China, but they do nothing about it. Meaning the sanctions are against individuals, not the government, which harbors these individuals, right? And we're not hitting China where it hurts. And where it hurts to hit China is twofold. One, economically, and the Chinese economy is already teetering on fault. So you could potentially do that. Number two, name and shame in China, not across the West. Name and shame in China. Let the Chinese people know that you're on to their government, and that's also embarrassing. Save face, very important in Chinese culture. But then again, our leaders just aren't going to do that. Attackers are leaking what they claim to be a Ticketmaster barcode data for 166,000 Taylor Swift Eras tour tickets, warning that more events will be leaked if a $2 million extortion demand is not paid. Well, what could be worse for Ticketmaster? A bunch of teenagers calling because their Taylor Swift tickets were not working, or paying $2 million? Oh, the decisions one must make in today's world. A well-known threat actor, Shiny Hunter, began selling the data on the 560 million Ticketmaster customers for around $500,000. Ticketmaster confirmed the data breach, which ultimately was because of their Snowflake account. Now, threat actor and a spider hunter is leaking what they claim to be ticket data for 166,000 Taylor Swift Eras Tour barcodes used to gain entry to various concert events. Pay us $2 million or we'll leak 680 million of your user information and 30 million more event barcodes, including more Taylor Swift events, Pink, Stink, sporting events, F1 Formula Racing, MLB, NFL, and thousands more events. Now, why are they doing this? If you ask yourself, simple. Because if people can't get in, Ticketmaster is going to have to refund them. I mean, the blackmail here is unbelievable. We're going to leak this so other people are going to go and use other people's legitimate tickets at this event, unless you redo that whole thing. And I don't know how difficult it is for Ticketmaster. I don't know the kind of behind the barcodes for events, but nonetheless, doing it to a Taylor Swift concert, man, I'm sure Reddit's blowing up. I didn't check Reddit this morning, but man, I bet people are like, oh man, you better make sure your barcode works before you go see Taylor Swift. Oh, dude, the stuff that we see here from these threat actors is absolutely mind-boggling. For their case, Ticketmaster says that the SafeTix technology protects tickets by automatically refreshing a new and unique barcode over a few seconds, so it cannot be stolen or copied. We'll see. I mean, again, we'll live and see. They're selling. So he's offering tickets for the October and November Taylor Swift tickets in Miami, New Orleans, and Indianapolis. Very, very interesting there if you're a Swiftie. Sonic Automotive is saying that car sales fell during a week-long outage following the cyber attack on CDK Global. It said this incident itself is reasonably likely to have a material impact on financial performance. This is with a new filing with the SEC. The car dealership, a Fortune 500 company, expects adverse impacts to its second fiscal quarter earnings due to a slower rate of vehicle sales after June 19th, when CDK said it discovered a cyber attack on its network. So the question is, 11 days to close out the quarter, June 19th to June 30th. What was that impact? And, if you're a big dealership, it's significant. If you're smaller, it may not be. Sonic Automotive said basic functionality of CDK's dealer management system has been restored, but other CDK systems and certain functions remain offline at this time. So there's that as well. We'll see how CDK responds to this. Additional car dealers that are likely joining with disclosures that we'll likely see in the next few days are going to be Penske Automotive Group, AutoNation, Group 1 Automotive, and Lithia Motors, all filing similarly worded disclosures with the SEC. Sonic is the only company to actually file an update, essentially probably looking at their balance sheet, understanding that impact, and taking it there as well. So there's that. A dark web criminal recently revealed a massive compilation of passwords dubbed in a file name Rockyou2024, totaling nearly 10 billion unique plain text entries. It was posted on July 4th by a user known as Obamacare on the LeaksBase forum. The file Rockyou.txt contains 45.6 gigabytes of compromised password data. Oh man, the Rocky data leak is particularly noteworthy as it follows the infamous Rockyou2021 incidents, often dubbed the mother of all leaks. That one had 8.4 billion compromised passwords. This one has 10. Um, so you can imagine what they can do with this data, credential stuffing, identities, the new perimeter, all of those things matter. You want to like literally, I saw it this morning, and my first action item would be uh, increase failed login attempts. So reduce failed login attempts from, if we said 5 to log you out, to 3. Send out a company notice letting people know that you're doing that for the foreseeable future until you can kind of find a better way to deal with it. Add MFA wherever you can. Add MFA by app, not by phone number, obviously, because yesterday, Authy, 33 million. So 35 million, I'm sorry. So there's that as well. So all of those matter. Those are that's what I would say based on this specific breach as well. A Neiman Marcus is now exposing that 31 million customers' email addresses have been stolen in the breach. Hunt's findings come after the company filed a breach notification with the Office of Maine, stating the breach only impacted 64,000 people. But Troy Hunt says, nope, boys, it's 31 million. 31 million. In a separate incident notification published on the website, that revealed the data exposed includes names, contact information, dates of birth, gift card information, transaction data, partial credit card and social security numbers, and employee identification numbers. All in all, Hunt analyzed the stolen data in the breach, found 30 million unique email addresses, and told Bleepy Computer, also confirmed with multiple people whose data was in the stolen database, that the information was legitimate. This is, again, part of that Snowflake breach there as well. Microsoft is planning to block employees in China from using Android-powered devices to log onto its corporate network. This, according to a Bloomberg report. Microsoft sent an internal memo to Chinese staff detailing the plan, which goes into effect in September and will mandate the use of Apple iPhones to authenticate identities when logging into work machines. The directive is reportedly part of Microsoft's new Secure Future initiative, which was created in response to multiple embarrassing breaches. Bloomberg said the mobile device mandate will impact hundreds of employees across mainland China and will push the use of Microsoft Authenticator Password Manager and Identity Pass app. The reports notes that unlike Apple's iOS store, Google's Play is not available in China. Leading to local smartphone manufacturers like Huawei and Xiaomi to operate their own platforms. According to the memo, Microsoft decided to restrict access there, so Apple sales should go up slightly in China. Unknown threat actors have been found propagating Trojanized versions of the jQuery on NPM, GitHub, and JS Deliver in what appears to be an instance of complex and persistent supply chain attacks. Specifically, this attack stands out due to the high variability across packages, according to Phalium in an analysis published last week. The attacker has cleverly hidden the malware in a seldom used end function of jQuery, which is internally called by the more popular Fate2 function from its animation utilities. As many as 68 packages have been linked to the campaign. They were published to the NPM registry starting from May 26th to June 23rd of this year, using names as CDN, jQuery, footers, icons, jQuery, jQuery XXX, Lugu, and style sheets, among others. So worthy of checking to make sure your developers did not use these and wiping those out. If you are, a flurry of critical infrastructure providers are making a final push to CISO to place guardrails around the new incident reporting requirements. The new incident reporting requirements will require critical infrastructures organizations to essentially report a major security breach or attack within 72 hours. Those entities would need to report ransomware within 24. In a pushback against the proposed rule during the public comment period, which was extended to July 3rd, critical infrastructure providers wanted to limit the mandate to the most consequential security threats and allow security teams enough time to make accurate assessments. We'll see what the pushback there and what the response from CISO will look like. Jen's pretty responsive. Avast discovered a weakness in the cryptographic scheme of the Dunex ransomware family and released a decryptor so victims can recover their files for free. The company says it's been working with law enforcement to privately provide the decryptor to the Dunex ransomware victim since at least March of this year. The cybersecurity vendors commonly distribute decryptors in this manner to prevent the threat actors from learning about the bug and fixing it. The flaw was publicly disclosed at last month's Recon 2024 security conference. So they've now decided to release the decryptor, realizing that it has more helping victims than anything else. There's that. Finally, a recent Supreme Court ruling is shifting regulatory enforcement from federal agency to the judicial system. The Chevron doctrine, which was knocked down by the Supreme Court on June 28th, now which allowed federal agencies to use their own expertise to interpret ambiguities in the law, became the foundation of the federal system of regulation through federal agencies like agency rules. But SCOTUS abandoned the need for the courts to show the deterrence, and now they're saying, nope, it's either got to come from the courts need no longer to defer to the Chevron doctrine in agency rulings, since technically the agencies are unelected bureaucrats, and if you want to pass a law and you want to give it some teeth, then Congress shouldn't pass ambiguous laws. The laws should be specific. There should be no gray. The interpretation then at that point would be left to the courts. Again, reasonable. Some people disagree with this, including the author of this one, saying that, we're now people who don't know technology are going to be the people who have to do this, and this is really, really bad. Maybe we engage the people who write the laws. Maybe this forces them to be very specific in the laws, and not write something so gray, so ambiguous that no one understands it, and it's up to legal interpretation and a coin toss in order to better understand it. So we'll see about that. All of that, by the way, is in the show notes. Go check it out. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back. By the way, on Friday, I've got Steve Warren, the CTO of Intel Federal. Here's a little preview, by the way, of our conversation that will air this Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So looking at artificial intelligence, how do you kind of see it? What's kind of like your kind of big philosophy around how AI is going to kind of change?
So James, it's interesting when you bring up AI, because you can't, throw a rock and not hit something that has AI in the title today. It is literally everywhere. It is the hype. And it's one of those things that we're not seeing the end of the hype curve, because every time you sort of get your feel on one area of AI, something new comes out and everyone's talking about that next wave. And so it keeps feeding on itself.
So Steve Oren joined me. We pre-recorded this episode, so tune in to that. That's going to air Friday, 11 a.m. right here on everywhere you're catching the podcast. It'll also be available on audio. We talk AI. We talk how AI should be looked at from that perspective. A great conversation. Tune in to that. Don't miss it. That's it for the show. We're way over time. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.